Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am honored to say that I am joined by CoreJJ, 2017 world champion. I mentioned very recently on stream that when when we were at the World Championship 2022, we had this issue with COVID and our support couldn't arrive. And in your off season, I just asked you, can you sub in for us? You subbed in so quick, and I said on stream, CoreJJ was the person who tried the hardest out of all players when four players are about to play the World Championship. And everything that I've heard about you, and also seeing, seeing through the lens of the game, you've always done so much. It seems like always you've done your best. So welcome to my show, CoreJJ.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I kind of want to go down a trip of memory lane because I mentioned before when we were talking that your career is so unique. Like no one has anything close to it in terms of what you've achieved and what you've done. I'm curious. Looking back at it, I know that like for me, your journey started when you joined Dignitas. What happened before, I'm not so sure about, and I was hoping that you could tell me how did the story unfold? How did you end up in Dignitas as an AD carry at the time? This was back in
Um,
2015, I believe.
so peop so you want to know about when I joined the Dignitas or
Yeah,
before I joined
how
the
did that
Dignitas,
happen? Like how did you end up on Dignitas?
where I played for the Big Fire Miracle as the Korean team,
Mm-hmm.
and then we played the LCK for one season. Like before LCK was not a franchising, so
Oh,
there's
okay.
a relegation, like not the relegation. There's a tournament,
Yeah.
and then we played the one season. Um, we got shit on by PJ, SKT,
Mm.
like T1 team, I guess. Um, and I don't remember the other team, but we played versus really good team, and then we got shit on. And then I couldn't find the Korean team,
Okay.
and I just only played the solo queue, tried to find another opportunity to play in the major league,
Mm.
and I ended up joining the Dignitas.
Okay. At the time, what was it that was driving you? Uh, where did the love for the game, did it come from a special place, or what was your inspiration? Why was it League of Legends out of all games?
Um, I mean, I just enjoyed my game, playing the game, and League of Legends was the one like I did good when I was amateur.
Mm.
So it's always having fun when
Mm.
you play the game that you're good at.
Okay. No, I can see that. I was the same way. I played out the games, but I
Right?
I feel so blessed that League of Legends actually turned into something real. It's like I played many games,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm surprised every day I wake up. I'm surprised that League of Legends is as big as it is. It's quite shocking to me, but I am grateful for it every single day. In terms of moving to North America, that must have been a crazy shift up because I believe at the time that it was not super common just yet. In terms of moving to Dignitas, it's like they must have flipped your world upside down completely.
Yeah. I mean, um, like when I came to the North America, there was some player already came to the North America,
Mm.
like Lost Boy, Seraph, or someone else.
Mm.
And then I also came with Gamsu together, and
Oh
then I
yeah.
knew Gamsu was good player. So I was not too scared to play in North America. And then in summer, we got Helios as a jungler. So I played with many Korean player.
Okay. That's good. It makes the transition easier, I imagine, because
Mm,
otherwise, I must imagine that it's very scary. I also must imagine that the differences from 2015 to what it was when you did the second term now that you've joined and stayed with Team Liquid for so long. I imagine the
yeah,
differences must be
my position was very different.
yes. And then you went back, of course, into the LCK, and like I looked at how you've gone through like all of the matches, and there was at some point, like you joined Samsung, you were still playing AD carry, and I looked at like the story of the team, and I saw that you guys were struggling. I remember that you were struggling, and then you did the switch up to support, and then all of a sudden you guys reverse swept KT, and all of a sudden you guys were winning, and you managed to get into the World Championship. Joining back
Yeah.
into Samsung, how like moving back, the switch to AD carry. What happened internally? Like how did the switch up to you going into support? How did this all occur?
So after Dignitas time was gone,
Mm.
I couldn't find the team again, so I played the solo queue, and Samsung coach Edgar picked me up as an AD carry. But we had a two AD carry actually, me and Stitch, and then our performance was not the excellent compared to the other HK AD carry players.
Mm.
So Edgar found a new AD carry talent, which is a ruler back then. And then when you had a 3 AD carry in the team, like he suggested me that if I wanted to rule swap, because he saw me that I can be the good support player with how I speak the game.
Mm.
So I end up switch the support, and then as soon as I switched the support, I liked really hard. One thing I remember
Okay.
was that once I decided to switch the role, I got an offer from the ADC team for Vitality.
Oh.
Yeah, and then they wanted me as an AD carry,
Okay.
but after thinking about a little bit, I wanted to play support. I didn't want to go back to the AD carry. So I play support, and then it ends up working really well.
No, it was a genius move for sure. The Vitality offer, did it come in the middle of 2016, pretty much?
Yes. If I
Interesting.
remember correctly, it was middle of 2016.
Okay, okay. Very, very interesting. Coach Edgar is also a legendary coach. He has a crazy, crazy good resume, and obviously, with what you said now, giving you the suggestion that you would be a great support. Working with Coach Edgar specifically, what can you share about his specific characteristics? Because I, as a coach too, I'm very curious to learn from other people, especially a legend as Coach Edgar.
So I think he was very disciplined.
Mm.
So when one of the people are breaking the like team play or something, doing a solo play, and then he doesn't just watching it. He just say really hard word. You
Okay.
should not do this. You should not do this. Why did you not play for the team? Like those things. And then it's not only in the game, in out of game too. Like he really didn't like people are flaming the other teammate.
Okay.
So basically in Samsung, players didn't have to give a lot of feedback to the other players, at least back then, because if there's any problem, he would tell the players, why did you do this? You should not do this. Something like that. So when I first time coming to the NA, the culture was pretty much very different.
Mm.
So I remember like I got hard time adjusting the culture.
I can imagine it's completely like back and forth on that topic, because we saw many great players go over to North America and not have a similar success to you. Do you think that shock is the biggest difference maker? Because of course a player succeeds in a specific environment and then everything changes. How have you managed to like maintain and do that differently? Because so many players have come over to North America, you think they're going to perform good, and then it kind of just falls apart and people make excuses, solo queue doesn't work, but you've never made excuses.
Maybe there is a lot of reason, but I think biggest reason is that because I joined a really good team. I joined the Team Liquid that they already won the 2 times in 2018. So every other players are good. So if I was not the Washit player, our success was almost guaranteed. So I could focus on myself a lot.
I see. So kind of carried over in a way, because you mentioned Coach has got very disciplined. You didn't need to give too much harsh feedback to your teammates. You could focus on your own gameplay, and that kind of carried over in Team Liquid in a way. I see. You mentioned Ruler, very, very well-known player, I would say. How was it working with Ruler? You guys shared a lot of success together. How is his work ethic? Because for example, 2022, when we were at the World Championship, I heard about the schedule that Ruler put himself through. I asked if they want to schedule 2v2s with us, and they were like, we have availability from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. And that was after like 9 games of scrims, and he's a very, very hard worker. But from your side, you have had the privilege of working with Ruler, of course. What can you tell me about how he is as a player and a teammate?
When I played with him, like he was definitely very talented. Some of times I felt really bad for him because everyone can tell how good Rulo was, and sometimes I feel like if I could play better, then I can meet if I can meet his level of the game, then the game would be easy. Like I was thinking about those things, like some here and there, because he was like very good. He barely lose to any AD carry in a one-on-one spacing fight, or even one-on-one duel. And then he was very hard worker. When like in Korea, I don't think you have a many off day, but whenever I have an off day, I fully take the break during the off day. But I remember like he was streaming. He was like playing game a lot. One day like coach told him to take some break during the off day. Like you should not play that much game. Yeah, you manage the condition or something. I remember those things. Like he was very passionate.
Okay. No, I can confirm about the break day. I remember I was in Sandbox. I was lucky to work in the LCK, and we maybe had like one break day every like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and on those days I didn't see a single player. Everyone left the house. Everyone left, and I was there with the coaches, and I asked them what they are doing. They told me most of them are just playing MapleStory, or they go home. MapleStory was the game of choice, but
It's very popular. Yep.
yeah, I used to play it a lot myself, but in Europe the servers are completely empty. Like, it's completely dead. I remember Mowgli was telling me he's watching streams. He's like, "Oh, this person spent 200K on this gear, and now he's farming." I was like, "Okay, that's that's crazy." And I remember working.
Yeah.
Root also told me he's like, "The reason I play League of Legends is to get money to buy things in MapleStory." I was like, "Okay, whatever motivates you."
There are some players, yeah, playing for MapleStory.
Whatever motivates you, as long as you work hard and you have your reason, I don't mind at all.
Yeah, as long as you are good.
For sure. You guys had this journey, right? It's like you beat KT, you switch to support. It's like back then the LCK format was so brutal when it came to playoffs, because it was just a bracket and it was a crazy format. I don't know who made that format, but looking back at that series when you went 3-2 against KT, are there any specific memories that you remember, like that KT 3-2 series that eventually qualified you to, of course, the World Championship back in 2016? Because that was, I
I think
believe, your first best of five, right?
on yeah, we
Support.
were on the actually my first best of five was the Africa Prix match.
Oh,
I think
okay.
prior to the KT series.
Oh, okay.
I think Race lost the game 1, and then I subbed in for game 2, and then we won versus Africa Prix.
Okay.
But when we played versus the KT versus Samsung was 19-0 for
shit.
last 2 years. So we were like huge underdog.
Yeah.
And I remember I watched the KT's game. The I played the KT, and then I thought to myself, like, talk to myself, there's no way we cannot win against this team. And then it worked well.
Okay.
In our KT series, it worked well. Everyone played really well, and we won in a really close way. So I was very emotional after the game.
Of course. 19-0 to winning out the series.
19-0 to 22-3.
That's amazing
And
that
I
you come
remember,
in with so much confidence.
yeah. And then I remember the Arrow was on the enemy team, and then when he got out of the booth, he said, "Good luck in wars." And then I, whenever I see the Arrow, I can still remember those things.
I can imagine that. No, it's the beauty of competition, right? It's like there has to be a lot of pain in losing, otherwise there's no beauty in winning. There's always two sides to it, for sure. And then that World Championship, this was actually my first World Championship, and we had you guys in group. I think we only played one game against you specifically, though, in the group stage. If I remember correctly, you were playing Tamkench. It was like Tamkench meta.
Were you in the Splice?
Yes, I was in Splice. I was coaching
really?
Splice.
I didn't know. Yeah.
My first World Championship, but we are heavy underdogs. I remember the matches against you guys were very tough because we had one fight 2v2 mid, the game was over, and the game just exploded because Crown was such a demon back then. I remember it was like, oh, we cannot deal with this guy. He was playing Victor against us. It's funny how small the esports world is that I ran into you back then. That World Championship was also quite the story. I think that in terms of the quarterfinals and the semifinals draws, they were lucky, I would say, to some degree, right? You ran into some Western teams.
I mean, HK team was so strong back then.
Yeah.
And then we dodged the HK team.
It was in terms of making it all the way to the finals. I don't know what kind of expectations did you have coming into that World Championship. Did you carry the same confidence that you did into the match against KT? Did that just carry over into the rest of the tournament?
At least like 2016, for me, is the like most confident the individual skill level year.
Okay.
I think there's something I remember during the 2016 Worlds was that I actually didn't play many champion, but I played like Jaira, Tamkench mainly. I played Jaira and Tamkench mainly. And like team was like we didn't practice a lot of Jaira. We just like play some Jaira in the scrim, and then we were thinking this is only for maybe like scrim pick or something.
Okay.
But there is the Russia team. I don't remember the name. Play the brand support.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then they play the brand support, and then if he can play brand support, I can play Jaira support, and then I just played a lot of Jaira during the scrim, and then we won many games, and then other team played a lot of Jaira too, and then it became a meta. So it was really cool.
I believe the team name was Albus Nox Luna.
Albus Nox Luna.
It
Yes,
was
yes.
crazy that they made to
They
quarterfinals.
made
'Cause
a quarterfinal, right?
yeah. I think they were in the same group as I believe G2 and CLG.
B2 Shilji locked Tigers.
Yes. So Rox Tigers, I believe they 6-0 maybe. No, they actually beat them once. I think they 5-1. Crazy the Albus Nox Luna made it through. They were playing the Poppy and the brand.
Yeah,
It was quite
they were very unique.
quite inspirational for sure. Like my team Splice, we were busy playing boring champions. We were playing Elise, Jace, diving, and we were trying to keep up with the other teams. And here they are doing their own crazy thing.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
I remember Cube always called Flies spicy. He didn't know what Flies was.
No, honestly, it didn't surprise me. Like at the time, it was very hard for us to gain scrims because I got the
Oh yeah.
impression from like the Korean and Chinese teams, if you're playing a well-known, like not known team, you're third seed, like people don't give a shit about you. You know, it's like you have to prove yourself. You get one chance, and then the word will spread.
True.
But we failed that one chance. Like back then, teams didn't care too much about nutrition, and I think that it was our first time in Korea for all of us. So we were so addicted to the food, and we were in food coma at all times. It was quite a disaster for us. I remember back then, like with boot camp, it was just like a hotel room, and our whole room was just smelling of fried chicken. It
A
was
lot
a
of food
disaster.
smell.
It was
Yeah.
just food smell, and it was a disaster, complete disaster. But it was a good experience.
hmm
Looking back at, so you mentioned moving into the KT series, you felt very confident. You said it's 2016 individually, you felt this was like your peak year when you look back. As you moved into the finals after having a very easy time with the quarterfinals, semifinals,
Yeah.
where was your mind when you're watching the SKT games in preparation for it?
Um, I remember I had a weak mindset before I played the game. The last night before we played the finals, on the bed I was thinking that I guess we did well enough, like
Oh,
making us final. I'm satisfied with how far we came here, and then after I actually lose to the T1, 3-2, I regretted thinking about that. It was never enough until I win.
damn. If you knew then what would come. As was the timing of this lesson, do you think it was perfect in regards to how it shaped 2017?
Yeah, of course. The first thing I was thinking after I lost to the T1 2016 was, I think big stage experience matters a lot. There is a fight. We won the very important fight around the mid in a game 5 finals, and then when we could just go to the Baron, I chose like really safe way to get an advantage, like small advantage, taking a mid turret, and at the end, like we got outscaled, not finishing the game when we had a chance. Um, so I regret a lot of making a safer option, and then like not having a big confidence about the plays. So I wanted to have like big stage experience a lot, like during the 2017, and then played no scare.
Okay. If I remember correctly, you guys started 0-2 down, right? And then you picked up a game. Did you feel like the momentum was shifting? Was there someone in the team that was pushing? What was it that changed coming from like a 0-2 down to start, of course, gaining momentum in that series in 2016?
Uh, it felt it felt like amazing, to be honest, like almost unforgettable
Mm.
with how much the fans, our crowds are like cheering for us. And then in game 3, we were also losing a lot. And then Lula made a clutch play, and then we came back from it. And when you finish the game, like we played, like eggshell booths, so we cannot see the fans during the game. But when we finished the game, and then we walked out to the waiting room, everyone was like screaming Samsung or something.
Mm.
It felt like so nice.
I can imagine. I can imagine. No, it's crazy that it was so close, and you guys began on, of course, uh, a continued journey coming into the next year. The idea, like being so close to winning it all and having those regrets, of course, those lessons are maybe easy to apply when you're back in a final again because the experience is so similar. But how did it shape how you practice and how you approached the day to day with your team moving into 2017?
I think to 2017 we were all confident, and then I don't know why. After you finish the international stage, and then when you come back, like it feels so easy to play versus other bar laners. Uh, I could feel the level we leveled up a lot after the worlds, and everyone was so motivated. We played quite well. I think we did pretty well during the regular split, especially mid and jungle played um, really high level with a Haru and Crown,
Mm-hmm.
and then I gripped a playoff series, and then it was over.
Oh, I mentioned it before. The playoff format was crazy. It
Yeah,
was
you lose one game, bye bye.
so tough. Did you feel like after those series, after those crushing defeats, considering you guys made the ramp up after through the regional qualifier one more time, um, did you lose confidence, or was it easy to just shake off? Oh, this was one series, you could piece it together and move on, or was there ever a time where the confidence was shook throughout 2017?
Uh, I don't think there was a time where we lost the confidence during the 2017. Um, yeah, I felt confident most of the time,
Okay.
2017, especially like going into the worlds when we prepared. It was bottom meta,
Yeah, yeah.
the Aden sensor, and then I felt very confident we can um, be better than any other bot laner.
It was once again a very good call, considering how everything played out. I know that in the regional qualifier, you also, like in the final, I believe you faced off against KT again. I think KT fans really hated the Samsung roster. You guys ruined their
Yeah,
dreams too many times.
KT was like super team
Yeah, yeah.
back then.
Was it the same thing? You moved into that series. You told yourself this is going to be easy. We're going to beat them easy.
Ooh, where KT was super team, and then they were very strong, but I think at least the gauntlet last day, I guess we did much better than them. So that's why it's not in my memory. I don't
Okay,
even
okay.
remember what happened in the 2017 regional final unless we won 3-0.
Yeah, yeah. The only thing that was in my memory was that you guys beat KT. I remember that like all the KT fans were very unhappy, and it's the meme about Score being one of the unluckiest players ever, and things not just working out with him. If I remember correctly, it was the roster with Deft, Mata, Score. I'm trying to remember who was mid. Was it
Map
what?
and Pawn.
Pawn? Oh yes, Pawn.
Yeah.
As Pawn as well with his injuries it's been rough to see how his career unfolded because also a very legendary player. But you guys 3-0'd them. Arden Sensor Meta. It was weird because Arden Sensor, it was something that was always kind of there in plain sight, but then someone just started buying it because in terms of how the patches changed, it wasn't that there wasn't nothing extreme, I believe, that changed about Arden Sensor. Someone just started buying it. What was your experience in the bootcamp process, in the practice process? How did the Arden Sensor like bell ring to you?
So there was there was a player in the Korean solo queue, played the Arden Sensor champion only.
Okay.
Played Kogmo, Twitch. He's like Aber, OMG Aber.
Oh.
When he before debut, and then everything he does is like he want your support to buy. Before that, he want your support to pick Lulu or Janna,
Okay.
and then he want you to buy Arden Sensor in solo queue, and then he's gonna run it down if you ever leave your ADC. So he was like so annoying to play with, but when you buff him, like he's gonna kill everyone. And
That's
then I have a
crazy.
lot of experience. He just AFK when your support roamed or something.
That's crazy. So if he wasn't so stubborn and let's say toxic, then maybe worlds would look different.
Yeah, maybe. And then at around the gauntlet timing, many people knew how strong the Arden Sensor was. So everybody started picking a champion who can use the Arden Sensor a lot during the gauntlet. But the thing I remember was that we were behind again, 0-2 against the Africa Prix in a gauntlet. We used the Haru, and then Ambition was in a sub, and then he was subbing in, and then told us, this Arden Sensor looks too broken. I think we should pick the Arden Sensor champion only, and then we just liver swept the Africa Prix, and then we got a good momentum to win versus KT.
And this is something that did they use the Arden Sensor and he just spotted it, or was it just something that clicked for Ambition? Like, was the enemy team using it, or how did that really unfold? Because I remember watching
if I
those
remember
series.
correctly, everyone knew Arden Sensor was really strong. I don't remember if enemy team picked it and then it clicked us. We need to play this to win. I don't remember exactly. But like people played like Lulu jungle, like Karma mid to use the Arden Sensor a lot. It was very weird.
Okay,
And it ends up going to the support only.
I see. Oh, it was interesting during that World Championship because Misfits had the strategy where they just picked the melee supports, but they just had the Arden Sensor champion be in the mid lane, and they almost beat SKT at this tournament, of course. But they left, of course, you guys the honor. You guys, if I remember correctly, you guys had to go through, was it World Elite? World Elite,
Yeah,
right before.
World Elite.
And they were also a very bot-centric team. Looking back at them, I remember it was, of course, Mystic, I remember his Caitlyn was very famous, and I remember Condi was the master of level 3 ganking bot lane, going Gragas and just throwing. It was like jungle
Condi, I
meta.
remember it, yeah.
Like jungle meta was just go bot lane and throw spell on enemy bot lane, like pick Nidalee or Gragas and poke and just hit the tower, give you space. Looking back at the World Elite series, in terms of preparation, I'm just curious about your mindset because you seem to have such a clear memory of what your mindset was coming into series. That World Elite series, what did you feel coming into it? I imagine the tournament must feel really good. You're playing with Ruler. You guys are in tip-top shape. The meta's really good for you guys. The World Elite series, what stands out to you in your memory bank?
Uh, I didn't think we were gonna lose to the World Elites ever. I felt very confident that we were a better team than them. So it wasn't like shocking compared to the like quarterfinal. I think going into the quarterfinal, we were huge underdog versus Longju.
Mm.
After we beat Longju 3-0, I was just like huge confident going into the World Rally Series. So I don't even remember a lot of games.
I see. No, the Longzhu series was interesting, right? Because they had Khan, of course. They were a very top-centric team. I think that they were probably like one of the only ones, and Khan kind of started the whole top lane carry thing. Him pulling, of course, many Jace bans, and in the finals, I remember that he got to play Jace twice, which was a crazy thing that he was even allowed to do so. I must imagine that he felt pain knowing Arden Sensor was so dominant, and you guys having like the meta being just right for you, and QV being very smart, playing for himself, and then eventually being very impactful with the Nara. I remember. I wanted to ask you because it's a question that is often raised, and I have the honor of talking with the world champion now. Is do you believe that metas make world champions, or do you think world champions make metas?
That's a good question. I think meta makes world champion. That's why I respect Faker a lot.
Mm.
He won many different worlds. Yeah, I think meta makes the world champion. There's a case during the tournament. There is a case like team found the meta fast, so that they invented the meta. But if you think back in the future, because it was like really OP, but no one knew it. But people found out what was really good, and then whoever played the meta best is gonna win.
I fully agree. Which is we have very two curious cases in the last two years with DRX and of course T1 winning the last World Championship. Beryl and Korea are very unique support players. If you look back at 2022, and I imagine that you watch everything very attentively.
Yep.
You come across as a very busy person. I can't imagine that there's one day where you can take a break from League of Legends. Is how I imagine how you function. Looking back at those metas, Beryl shaped it with his Heimerdinger and just roaming everywhere, and then of course Korea with how he reshaped the World Championship. What were your thoughts watching that unfold? Did you take any inspiration away from it, or what were your thoughts in general watching Barrel in 2022 and then of course T1 in the last year?
I think around 2022, the bullshit support comes out, like Heimerdinger, and then people like keep challenging, like what can beat Heimerdinger? Oh, I guess Ashe support is good. Like, oh, now Ashe support is becoming meta. What can beat Ashe? Like, etc. Like, Kamen is coming out, Lumber is coming out.
Yes.
Is kind of tough for me to catch up everything, but I think, yeah, I mean, those things is fun. Like, everything is changed, and then they figured the meta really fast, and then they played really well with that. But also, when good teams are playing some champion, if you lose to that, it looks like they are the correct answer because you can't beat them with your champion. So like meta is not the everything, but between the good teams, because of meta change, some team is gonna win the tournament. I think it's like this MSI is the good example with a lane swap meta. I think it reduced a lot of T1's advantage, picking strong side laners and then getting some advantage from the side laning page. So it doesn't mean like they're losing to the bad teams, but they have a hard time beating the best same level of teams.
Agreed. I did think coming into the tournament that T1 would probably be hurt the most by lane swaps, because how I viewed them was I believe that Korea is at his best when he gets to gain advantages through lane, and I felt like he was always at his best when, as a pairing, Gumayushi and Korea can pressure enough around mid to create enough vision and force people to come into mid, so that Zeus could just farm freely. And because if Zeus had gold, usually he would just be the one to carry games, and everything was kind of flipped in a way where Zeus didn't get the economy and they couldn't pick these very hard winning lane champs without thinking twice due to lane swaps existing. It's funny how the same story of, like you mentioned, OMG Able, and then NIP, how they share the story of how they found lane swap is because someone just did it in solo queue against Photic, which is crazy how things move sometimes. It's like you mentioned as well that Ambition just told you guys, yo, just fucking buy Ardent Sensor, then we will win. It's crazy how sometimes such a small idea can change the whole perspective. And because it was the same for T1, right? That 2023, I remember they played against Gen G. I was watching Korea playing Alistar, and they're trying to keep up with Delight and Peanut in terms of how they play jungle support together, and then they lose against Gen G. It looked horrible, and T1 didn't look strong at the tournament. And then suddenly they were like, fuck it. Maybe they had a version of their Ambition in the room saying, guys, what are we doing? It's an intriguing question because often what is said about how like Western teams are conceived, of course, to be weaker than the Korean teams and the Chinese teams, and often what is said is like they need to innovate and try to find some exciting way to approach the game.
Yeah.
But I think that people sometimes don't understand how scary that can be, because sometimes you can walk in a direction and maybe you realize that it's very wrong, and all of a sudden you've wasted a lot of time. How do you view this conversation surrounding innovating in the meta to find an edge against of course, Eastern teams?
Well, what people wanna see is that Western team ever win the international tournament, right? So what they wanna see is like, you guys should find the meta, and then you guys should be the best at the meta, and then luckily when meta is keep circling, it fits with your best, fit with what you are best at, and then it's not like we're gonna always win at that point, but we have a really good shot. We can win versus better team. But like somewhat I agree. Having a really unique champion and strategy helps really a lot. But at the same time, if you don't have like good level of fundamental, it doesn't even work the better team. So it's very hard to your fundamental level of League of Legends going up, and then you still find your own way to win the games. Tough question.
No, I think that with your assessment, I agree wholeheartedly. I think I think often people take for granted all the small details of how the game is being played, because I think for the average person, something as simple as just, let's say, your jungle shows on the mid wave and how it can ruin the whole map, or something. So those small details in terms of how fast players adjust to information and how good people are individually in terms of positioning in fight and understanding like the relationship to champions. I think often the community wants to find simple answers to very, very tough questions, but I think you need to kind of attack everything on all bases to find an advantage against stronger teams, right? It's
I think every basic like skill shot, movement, laning pace. If you don't have enough skill of that, like can, even though how doesn't matter how good your strategy are, like can't beat the good team.
No, I remember there were specific points in my career where I scrimmed versus very specific teams and I felt so suffocated, where you are pressured so much more than you used to. So you don't have the same amount of, let's say, mental energy to think about the things that you usually think about.
Yeah, true. That word.
Because I remember like 2018 IG when we scrimmed them, it was like I was in shock, was in complete shock what we watched, and I felt the same against KT back in 2018. Just when I was watching like Deft and Mata in lane, we were trying to gank them 80 times, but nothing moved them, and
Doesn't work.
nothing worked at all. And I remember 2022 when I was over in Sandbox and we scrimmed Damwon. I remember thinking these guys are going to win the world championship because it was so overwhelming. Summit was telling me he was very, very sad, Summit, because Nuguri in scrims was a very, very crazy player. He was always trading, always fighting, always fighting, but always better would show up. Showmaker would show up, Cannon would show up, and Summit was always telling me, "Oh, I can't do anything. Every time I think I have a chance, some people come to my lane and destroy everything." It's funny how it goes. Looking back, before we move on from, of course, 2017, we mentioned Longzhu, we mentioned World Elite. Moving into the finals, you told me that you didn't feel satisfied, right, with only winning semifinals and getting second place. How was the energy coming into the finals? How did you feel? Did you feel this is going to be yours? This is yours for the taking?
The final venue was like really huge. It called the Blood Nest. They did Beijing Olympic ceremony or something, and we did a rehearsal before the match, and then when I got there, I really hope I'm gonna own this place tomorrow. And then I was very confident going into the finals, even though we got shit on by T1 in the scrim for the semi-final preparation. So it was like not like the 2016. It was more. I wanted to win more, and I had more confidence.
In terms of your teammates, considering you guys had been through so much, did you see, for example, Ruler? You of course started working with him when he was just a rookie. How did you see the development of your teammates? How was it different for them, if you remember?
Well, Hubert told me later that he didn't play Scream seriously during the semi-final. I'm not sure if that was the true or not, but he did well, and everyone focused really well, tried to outplay enemy team, and then outplaying works. And we had a better understanding of how Arden sensor meta is, and then how we should play around the Arden sensor champions as a team. So it was good. It was easy series.
I remember because it's like always working with teams, you take inspiration from great teams. I remember watching you guys, and I felt like what you guys were doing so unique was more so than any other team. You guys actually took control of the river in a way that you were willing to go all the way into mid to take control of a full vision and sacking like one bot wave in order to do so. I remember like this movement you always did with like Ambition, and he was like playing Rengar or Javan, and it was always like that full movement into mid to make sure that when Crown was playing like a scaling champ or in that direction, that he was always covered. When I felt like a lot of other teams were leaving like the mid lane in isolation and were never willing to make that full move because of course, like mid lane wave is always faster. It was faster back then, and bot lane wave was so much slower, so you didn't have the time window. Was this something that you guys figured out intentionally, or was it just like naturally over time? You guys figured out that you need to do this?
If we analyze our gameplay, I don't think I can explain where, but I know the mindset behind of the gameplay. We had a huge confidence. If we go late game, we're gonna win.
Oh,
So, I mean, that's why most game we try to stabilize the game where so that like we control the vision a lot, and then we play around the vision, and then we play the high percentage of gameplays, and I mean those things worked really well back then with a lot of words jungler have, and how strong our laners laner were individually made us play the really good scaling game, and then we had a ruler for the late game.
okay, makes a lot of sense. It worked beautifully, and I'm curious because for me personally, it was always the question of, oh, I want to make the world championship. Then after I made the world championship, it's like I didn't make it out of groups. It's bullshit. I instantly when you achieve what you want to achieve, you almost instantaneously want to move to the next thing. And I remember this
Yeah.
interview from Doimby right after he won the world championship back in 2019. He says, "I want to win the next one now." After you lifted the trophy and the celebration kind of calmed down, what were the thoughts that were crossing your mind in terms of what was next for you, so to speak?
Obviously, I didn't do well domestically, so I wanted to get some domestic title, and I wanted to win another worlds. But at that point, HK team had really like killing schedules with
Oh,
HK. Our HK is done. There's a Casper Cup, and then we did a gauntlet, and then worlds is done. Like World is done, we played Casper Cup, and then Spring Split started immediately. Like there's also Lift Rivals coming up,
oh yeah.
so we didn't have enough time to take off a break. So after winning Worlds, we didn't have a many long vacation. Had to prepare for the next match right away. So yeah,
Okay,
and
okay.
and then we couldn't win the Casper Cup too.
Mm. No,
So it was a little bit disappointed, and then we got burned out pretty hard as a team.
is that something that like from once again going back to the question of Like a very common narrative as well is that the Western teams don't work as hard and they need to work harder, and they are not working hard enough, which I think I would probably, the way I would view it is that teams maybe don't work smart enough. I feel like most players work like hard in terms of putting in the hours, but sometimes they play like solo queue in a bad way or review in a bad way. It's like people are just watching and clicking through the VOD, but they're not really like digesting it the right way, right? But a very common narrative is, oh, the Western teams are not working hard enough. And now, as you mentioned it, do you think there's been cases where like as you mentioned now, I'm curious that Korean teams work too hard, because was there ever a conversation about taking it a bit more easy, maybe screaming less, or was this something that was just completely out of the question back in 2018?
Mm, well, I think we worked really hard back then individually, but also the schedule was too packed. Too many things to do. But mm, I guess they work too hard. But um, whoever whoever can overcome those things are still staying alive in the HK for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
I think teams are doing more like smart work than hard work as well in Korea. So like I'm not worried about that, like those things. I think there is a balance. But the every balance should lean to the not your personal comfort to the success.
Mm.
Like like some people can say I'm just taking like I'm just late. I just want to play the other game for fun. Because it is fun more than I'm taking this break so that I get more energy to focus on the game. Like the thing is like if you are behind in a kill level, you should like naturally get behind it, get benched or get kicked. Not performing well, like not winning. I think we probably should let the nature of like choice of nature choose what is correct.
Mm.
The HK players, like there are plenty of trainees numbers of playing the solo queue. So if you are working less than others, you're just permanently behind, cannot catch up, and then someone else will replace your position.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like as we mentioned before, it's like you rest with intention. It's like often in my teams, I don't like calling off days because I feel like people then treat them like their crazy day rather than like a rest day. It's like people eat shit foods, go to sleep late, and then they come into scrims the next day, and it's shit. But that day should be used to rest with intention. Maybe sleep a little bit longer, do something easy, take it
Yeah.
easy, and maintain your schedule. I think doing things with the intention, as you mentioned, smart work is so important. But I think also you hit on something that's so interesting that the let's say the nature of the competition, that if you're not capable of training super hard and it doesn't come natural to you, then often you will just not succeed, because there will be players that are capable of doing it and survive through that. It's you put it in a very good way. It's very intriguing. In the 2018, and now in your reflection, you mentioned that you guys were burnt out. Was that ever a conversation that happened in the middle of the season? Oh, we are very drained, we need to take a step back, or was this something that you felt after the fact?
I mean, I think during the season, before even start the season, every players were thinking about that. This is too tired, exhausted. Everyone, so more than like everyone's eyes looking at the succeed, everyone's eyes was looking at the next vacation, next off day.
Mm.
So it was tough year.
Okay, okay. It was once again I ran into you at the at this World Championship. We were in the same group. I remember at the time
Yeah.
you guys you you apologized to us that you guys didn't beat RNG in the match that could potentially get us a tiebreaker, but there was nothing to apologize for, of course. The only thing I remember thinking is, why did they play Lucian Nami? What is this bot lane combo that I've never seen before? Where did they get this from?
Yeah.
But it turns out it's one of the most broken things ever.
We played a lot in the solo queue and scrims. I told I told Lula like, you just take the cleanse. If Thrashy hit the hook, you just cleanse and we one shot the AD carry. His is so broken, and um, since we prepared, we wanted to use it in that stage, but it was not the main strategy going into the world. So I guess like we didn't have a perfect understanding of how we should play around the Lucian Nami, trapped around the Lucian Nami.
Mm.
So our result was not good.
I remember this meta was like Lucian Brom, Zyra Khan every single game, and
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting. It's once again one of those times. Maybe if something was different with the Lucian Nami and you guys were so ahead of your time, maybe it could have been a difference maker. Which is crazy how everything kind of hangs in such a balance. In
Yeah.
in the aftermath, considering you guys had a very, you guys have played together for quite some time after 2018. In your reflection about what's next for you, what was going through your mind in terms of how the off season went, and how was the reflection of everything when you look back at, of course, your years in Samsung and Genji, of course.
Yeah, I learned so many things in Samsung and Genji, and I, I had a really good memories. But at the end, I was too tired to do the same schedule. Um, so I wanted to find a new fresh air.
Mm.
So that I wanted to go to the abroad, and the NA was familiar with my Dignitas time, and then English was also more comfort than the Chinese, so I chose to come to NA.
Do you have some crazy offers to play in China that you could share? Anything that stood out?
I mean, there was a one random offer I got for my phone core. I got some like random international core
Okay.
randomly, and then asking me if I wanna come to the TS,
Okay.
and I was not interested in coming to the China, so I was considering between EU and the NA only,
Okay.
mainly.
Did Vitality knock on your door again, or that was a one-time thing?
um, I think there was a mispitch, and then Team Liquid were interested in me.
Okay.
but in my mind, like I just wanted to play with a Doublelift. So very high chance I would just wanted to come to the Team Liquid.
Interesting. As Doublelift, legendary AD carry of North America with quite the resume at the time. It's like in terms of the AD carries that you've worked with, like the list is of course very interesting. What can you tell me about working with Doublelift? How is he as a person, and how different was it from working, of course, with Ruler?
Uh, so with the ruler, he was also rookie, so we were growing up together.
Hmm?
But with the Doublelifts, he already have a lot of experience, a lot of succeed in NA, and then like we were both veteran. Um, so he just did his job well, and I did my job well, and how he wanted to play game is what I wanted to play the game. Um, and then he was the best ADC in the NA, so it was easy for me to play the Batio. And then the biggest thing he had was the winner's mindset. Whenever you come to the like big stage, he makes a lot of clutch play. Even though he's not the best at the mechanical stuff, like young genius players,
Hmm.
but he made a lot of good clutch plays, which impressed me a lot, even after we didn't not playing together.
Okay, so it's kind of I'm bringing it back to what you mentioned to me 2016 when you when you reflected that you regret in that game 5 that you guys didn't take the initiative in the moment that you could. I guess you saw that same thing in him, in his veteranship, that oh, this I already learned. I see this in him too. He takes the game by the balls and looks for the win. That's
Yeah.
do you think this is something that kind of differentiates like the winners in those finals? Would you say this is a very important characteristic to differentiate like great players that don't win and great players that actually do win? Because usually you have the same players winning very often, right? In both LEC and LCS, and also over in Korea too, and China, you have like these elite players that tend to win LCS over and over again. Like with you guys, it's like you made the roster right this year. It's you and Impact. You guys are used to winning. You know the DNA, so to speak.
Yeah, I do believe there is a winner's DNA, and there are many players having a good like high fundamental skill level, but doesn't make a good clutch moment when it's matter. But yeah, I can see like some of players are different um when they are in the very clutch moment, because big stage is different than normal stream, normal like regular citizen game. Uh, I don't think there is a different level.
Mm.
And then people who are doing well at those moments usually are the great players.
Do you think that this is something that is teachable? Because now, for
Mm,
example, you're working with Dion. I thought that his Lucian games, from me, from outside, I was like, damn, I've never seen this from Dion. It feels like he's leveling up. He played Lucian in a way that was very, very impressive against, of course, Fnatic, and you guys pushed T1 very far. How do you see your role in giving that DNA to, of course, your teammates?
um, where I think there are the people who born with the winner's DNA.
Hmm.
I think APA is kind of those players.
Okay.
Um, even though it's um, like even though his fundamental level is not the great player level yet, but he has a winner's DNA. And then I believe environment matter a lot. If you being played around the winner's DNA team, you will get the winner's DNA.
Okay.
So like you, like people always say, the good rookies joining the good teams are very important, because if you start playing with a bad team, there is some losers DNA too.
Yeah.
So people who played in the good teams, start with the good team, usually are great players, even though they left the team.
I will use this as my personal excuse for my when I was a pro player. I joined a team that was last place in the league, and we didn't win a lot of games. And my first match I played in a big arena too, and because back then, like regular season games, they would just play them in big arenas, and we played against Moscow 5, and I got like a little first blood. I solo killed Alex Ish, but we just lost because I joined team with loses DNA. It will be my excuse.
Yeah. I mean, the best thing you can do in those situations is like escaping as fast as possible.
No, honestly, it's tough advice, but I can't say it's wrong. You know, it's like
Yeah.
I would describe it that you have to work in a way where eventually you're going to be surrounded by people that work the same way as you. So either you drown in your bad team, or you jump to of course the next step.
Mhm.
I was curious in regards to Doublelift, because from outside, it like you guys were working super well together, and then you had that horror split, and then there was kind of the split up of CoreJJ and Doublelift. How did what came down there? What really happened from your side after, of course, you played with the rookie again, and what went down? From within, if you could share.
Um, the thing I remember was that 2020 the meta shifted because there are many OP champions comes out in an AD carry champions. Misfortune, Aphelios, Senna was like mega broken,
Mm.
and then Tactical was better at the Aphelios, and Misfortune probably, and yeah, there was a subbing in, subbing out situation, and I thought it's gonna be the competing again for the summer, but Peter joined the TSM after the spring split.
Because that from outside, I remember that was quite strange. Like I remember there was a whole discussion. People were saying spring split doesn't matter and so forth, and then he jumped over. How did it feel to play against him after all that time? Did you feel like you needed to enact revenge, or did it motivate you?
Well, it definitely motivated. We actually won the regular split. We managed to get the best team liquid result in a regular split,
Mm.
but you know the winner's DNA from the
Mm.
Doublelift Bjergsen was too strong, so TSM ends up winning. Wait, is it the 2020?
Yeah, 2020,
2020
I
summer?
believe that was when they beat you guys in five
Yeah,
games.
yeah. And then they did well. Yeah, they did well in the playoffs when it matters. And then I felt definitely really bad, but at least we made the worst.
Mm.
Going to the worst, I was hoping that we did better than the other NA team in in the world.
Before we jump further, I want to bring you back to 2019 because that was also like a crazy year. Like MSI, I would have never guessed in a million years. Forgive me, but I would never guess in a million years that you guys would beat IG. Once again, the MSI format back then was brutal. There was three best of fives in the whole tournament.
Yep.
You played one best of five, and then you win finals. It was a crazy one. Uh, you, I want to ask once again, what was your mindset moving into that best of five against the, the 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 current world champion at the time?
They looked really strong during the group stage situation. Not many thing I remember, but I remember that keep talking with Peter that we are better than Jackirop and Baron. Like you are the best ADC. You are the better ADC than the world champion Jackie, and I think everyone played really well. So I was happy. Yeah, I was so happy after winning the IG.
It's crazy. You guys went into that series with such confidence, you know? Because from outside, like I think everyone was just damn. That's like IG looked like demons in group stage. They had that legendary fast win against SKT, but they played I think some shit bot lane like Tarek Sona or something against Draven or
Yeah.
something. But IG looked very very scary. I um I was always curious because I remember like I was watching Doublelift like making the tier list in regards to like coming into MSI, and he rated top esports so low, and someone mentioned to me is like it might be because 2019 at MSI he beat Jackie Love, so maybe in his mind he just doesn't rate him
Yeah,
that
doesn't
highly.
improve.
That's it's interesting how the world always the esports world is so small, you know. Everything is
Yeah.
is connected somehow. You know, that series, you know, as a fan coming, like as a person coming out of Europe, you know, the next one in the finals, there was like Wunder was doing a lot of shit talking ahead of that. He was saying that you know there was even there was like a soundbite of him after they beat SKT that they're going to beat you guys easy. He was so confident. How was the psychological warfare coming into that series against G2? Did you scrim against them? What was your opinion of G2 coming into that finals?
So we had a certain style of how we want to play, and then basically it's like same as Samsung and Genji mindset. If
Hmm.
we go late game, we win. So we stabilized a lot of situation, and then we fought when it mattered a lot. But IG was the team like only going forward.
Yes, yes. The opposite
So
almost.
yeah, opposite. So I guess we countered that day, and G2 was the team like bluffed all the time. So if you actually not thinking twice and then going forward, you can beat them. But if you hesitate, then they're gonna take advantage with a fast movement and then efficient numbers on the map. But I guess we were too happy with the IG games, and then we couldn't even like fight Guerre versus G2. Even though we were confident, because it was not the T1, because I felt like we couldn't beat the T1 at any chance back then,
Okay.
but it sucked. So I removed in my memory.
T1 was like in my mind. I felt like they were such a scary team because it seemed when the game was structured, it didn't seem like anything could move them.
Hmm.
I feel like that's how a lot of people would describe most Korean teams at the time that most Korean teams were
Yeah.
very, very disciplined, very precise.
Yeah.
And then G2 was kind of just try to fuck things up as much as possible. Because playing against them in the regular season as well, in of course, the LEC, they were one of the most frustrating teams because we managed to beat them in the regular season, but it felt like we only beat them because they allowed us to. Because they picked like Garen top into Karma blind, and it was like they laugh when they go off the stage. It almost felt humiliating to beat them in that fashion. And then a different game we lost against them because they're playing Pyke Yumi bot, and we try to gank, and then we just waste all our time. We lose our top turret, and they don't let our Jace re-enter, and then the game was just exploded, as you mentioned. It's like you got baited into these scenarios, and they played off of information super well. I'm curious from your side because 2018, 2019 was very rough years for Korea, and this was exactly at the time where a lot of the rookie teams came in, right, in Sandbox and Griffin, and then of course Damwon. What do you think changed in terms of how Korea had to approach the game? Is there a culture of we lost against these teams at this World Championship, these are the winners, we need to digest what made them good and improve on it? Or how is in terms of a team being built and wanting to, of course, win the World Championship and having pride for it, how much intention is behind it in terms of those moments? Because 2018, 2019 were very rough years.
Riot didn't like how HK played the game.
Oh.
So they guided a little bit, changing the system to make a more fight. Like they tried to give a more advantage who fight more or take the risk more. There was a lot of patch, and then more than like side control thing. And then they removed a lot of like ward in the map.
Yeah.
And more than control the game, like more fighting game. And some teams having most HK team had a hard time adjusting a new meta, new patch, because like they are used to playing the same way. And also the new talents are coming up, which is really big, and then they giving everyone a fresh air of how you should play the game. But for those rookie players who are not like matured enough, because they were not experienced yet to win the world championship or something. There was a between time going to the next generation.
You mentioned the idea of Winner's DNA is so interesting because I think like the Griffin story was a story of that where in regular split they were dominating, and then in the format they get to play one best of 5 and they get plopped into the finals, and then of course you guys beat them 2018 in the regional qualifier, and they looked very out of sorts there, and 2019 as well at the World Championship. They had a lot of issues with the coaching thing and so forth, but even that series against IG was a very rough one to watch. But then over time, the winner's DNA was established because all of those names we see them still today, right? With the Chovy and Tarzan and all the usual, of course.
Lehans.
Viper, of course. Not sure what Sword is up to, but Doran was on the bench, and he's still doing good. It's interesting how the concept is appearing itself. I'm going to use this one, the winner's DNA, the loser's DNA, because it's so true. I wanted to ask in terms of the conversation of rookies. Always, it's like people talk about rookies in the LEC. We have almost an obsession with it, where it goes too far, where a lot of good veterans don't get to play, and a big topic of conversation is always age. It's like, oh, age. In my mind, age doesn't really matter. And I kind of circle it back to the conversation of winners' DNA or losers' DNA. Like, has a player had a career of losing and just poor success, or what has he actually done in his career? I imagine on your end, you don't give a damn about age, right? It's like you are winning LCS championship very deep into your career. You won Worlds 2017. What do you think about this whole conversation surrounding rookies and age in esports?
I think biggest thing in the League of Legends is that age actually doesn't matter, but the game is keep changing. So if you are able to keep catching up the game, which is changing, then age should not matter. But like for example, I have a hard time learning every champions coming out, because I usually takes a lot of time to learn the new champion. But like every 1 week there are new champions coming out I have to play. But more than the age, like people having a ability to learn the new thing fast enough, and then time you can put into the game. More than that, like probably passion that willing to learn the game. Like you're rookie and a new player enjoying the game. Like age doesn't matter, goes to the same way to the like veteran doesn't matter. Like veteran or rookies doesn't matter. If you are behind, like you are worthless anyway. It's not like only good for the veterans. Like some other sports, your experience are always working, because the rules are not changing that much.
Yeah.
But in league, like rule is changing every 2 weeks. I think that's the biggest thing.
Something that I think that comes with age is, I think, more responsibilities. It's like when we started playing League, it was like League was the only thing. It's like I had to pretend to do things at school, but other than that, all I cared about was League. And over time, you get more responsibilities. Like you are growing your family, and you have, of course, you know, growing responsibilities as well that come with your age. How have you managed to balance things, you know, as your career has progressed and more responsibilities on your side? How have you managed to keep everything in check and making sure that you maintain your level, winning championships still, and you know, doing damage at of course the world champion MSI, sorry. How do you manage to balance everything?
Where, like for example, if I kept playing in the HK after 2018, I probably not being able to keep playing the league because it was too tired. But with the NA schedule, like whenever I get tired, I can take a rest, and then whenever I wanna work, I can work. And the thing is, like I still wanna win, so that whatever I do, it always coming back to the way I can win the League of Legends games. The balancing, I think here and there, like sometimes I take more break, sometimes I play more league. At least I got to learn that more balance. I found out more balance. Like when I don't know my limits of my performance, like working and life balance, I just put a lot of work side, leaning to the work side, and then I have experience like it was like too tough for me, so leaning to the little bit of a break side.
Mm.
More having more years and years, like I gotta find the balance, learning from the pure experience.
I imagine as well over time, I guess something that a lot of players struggle with is being honest about their own level and knowing how to get their level up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that I think this is also like a part of the winner's DNA is knowing when you are going to head into playoffs, what actions you need to take in order to get to the level that you need to before, of course, the match starts. I think sometimes players are very sporadic in their schedules. Like sometimes they don't train hard enough when they need to, and sometimes they train too hard
Yeah.
when resting is, of course, necessary. I imagine for you, it's like you always have a very clear awareness of yourself, and you know exactly. Oh, it's like right now I'm here, and I need to put in the extra hours now, and this is the time to do so. And
Yeah,
which,
those things are very important. Like you have a lot of things growing up, family, more like finance thing.
yeah, yeah.
Mm, yeah, but I am thinking of like not losing passion to win, especially international. I think the when meta is like keep circling, um, I hope there will be the time that having a lot of experience like me get good advantage, so that until then I wanna keep playing.
I love that. I love that. I think it's a very, very strong sentiment. And for a person currently that is mostly just doing the co-streams, you're almost motivating me into jumping into competition again. It feels like competition is kind of always a story that is unfinished, you know?
Yeah,
And it's amazing to hear that even for someone that has, of course, you know, won the World Championship and you've won the LCS, you just continue to want to strive for more. So I imagine that you will continue as long as this fire is strong within you.
yeah. So far until the naturally I get benched or I cannot even make the like playoffs compete to the win, un unless I hit those level. I wanna keep competing. Yeah.
Okay, okay. No, that's good. I wanted to jump to the
Mm-hmm.
point where, of course, you guys made pretty much a super roster, right? With Björksen
Can you change it?
and Bwipo. Oh,
Can I go to the one
of
bathroom
course,
really
of
quick?
course.
Yeah.
Nothing gets edited on this channel, guys. Those who don't know, I'm in my childhood room. That's why it looks so goofy in the back, you know. It's this is my childhood room. Like maybe some people remember from my streams from 2015. I haven't recorded anything from forever. That's crazy. It's like I just want to compete again when I'm listening to to CoreJJ speak. Very honored that I could take time out of CoreJJ's busy schedule, man. We just at MSI, just finished up. back. All right, welcome back. We were talking about 2022 Super Team.
Yeah.
I'm circling back to the winners' DNA. You know, there's a bunch of winners here. What went wrong, man? Well, what's going on that team?
I guess, let's see. I think the what went wrong question, that's the thing we asked a lot
Okay.
during the season 2. Every time we lost every like a single the BO1 games, it came to the like really serious question of like what went wrong. How come we lost the one game against the random NA team?
Mm.
I think those pressure thing was also pretty big. And I think if I summarize one problem, that we couldn't find the way to win a game consistently. Like for example, Samsung and Genji and 2019 Team Liquid. Like we had ideas of if we go late game we're gonna win. So everyone play for that, like play for like stabilizing the game or believing your ADC is gonna win the game in the late game. So we couldn't find a consistent way to win. And whenever we lost the one game, it came to the like really serious conversation. We should pivot to the other way to play the game. Yeah, I think those thing is the biggest thing I can think of right now.
Something that basically 2022 as well. I had a super team of my own. I was in Fnatic, and I basically had players from teams that have basically won the league at different years. Like Hilly won with Fnatic, Wunder won with G2, and Humanoid won with, of course, Mad Lions. And I think there was always a sense of disagreement. It's not that anyone was wrong, but people didn't want to make the concessions. Like people didn't want to commit to one idea in terms of how we would approach the game. And I think that was the hardest part, where it's like Humanoid came from the previous year winning, so I had like a very strong idea of macro, because we all, basically all of us within the team, lost against him. And our big issue was that in that the struggle was, it's like you kind of need to, everyone needs to be bought in to what you're doing, right? It's like if you were playing those like in a team where you know that if you go to late team you're going to win, it's like everyone needs to believe in the same idea. I imagine that at least from outside it seemed like you guys, as you mentioned, you didn't really have like a clear identity. There was never like a structure, and a lot of the wins eventually you got to the point where, I don't want to, maybe it's harsh to call them that, but some of the wins were maybe cheaper with like a Seraphine or like the Swain comps that I remember. It was like kind of a, hoping that the game will just play itself at that point. I imagine if you guys always brought up the questions like, why did we lose, and we need to try something completely different, and there was never like a real commitment to something, I imagine that that must have been very, very hard, considering everyone was so experienced. Do you think, I'm curious, do you think that winning in North America, I think this year I feel like it's very different, because I feel like a lot of players are trying, and teams are trying to do a lot more than I've seen in the past, where I saw in past years that there was a way to win in North America that never necessarily translated so well when it came to the international stage. Looking back at that time, do you think that there was a specific way to win in North America that was kind of replicated between the years that you saw kind of come up in all of the teams, or am I just being crazy as an outside spectator?
Um, I don't think there is a thing like team, at least in my team, like we play this because this one will win the NA.
Okay.
I always start like I try to play what the best for our team, best for the um like basically best for the team.
Hmm.
I think every team, every player has a little bit of different play style. So mm, like usually if the thing works in the NA, and then if you are better at that, the most chance it works better in the international than you try the new thing completely in the international.
Okay. Maybe the issue stems more from the fact that the competition, does the competition in LCS often try to mimic the number one team? Did you
Yes.
feel that in
Actually, there
2019?
is a. Oh, if you talk that way, I can actually say something.
Okay.
Like for example, in NA, there are less players pressure you to the limit,
Okay.
so that you can pick more greedy champion in NA, and then you don't get punished, and then you get the better payback later. So you naturally win the game a lot. Actually, there is a champions like that, but when you play those things in the international stage versus the best player in the world, you get punished really hard. So you try to find a solution um, to the problem. But like that's the like biggest problem for not having a good competition. Like the thing you believed. I mean, the thing is like you do this because you believe this is the best way to win. But the thing you believed was not true when you go to the international,
I
because
see.
the enemy team push you harder than it is. So you need to readjust the limit.
Hmm. That I guess is it's like the challenge that both you guys face, right? And also, of course, G2 face that the regional practice will always be different because there's always the conversations. Like if let's say they took your team Liquid and you guys were forced to play, and let's say the LPL LCK for one split and then go into Worlds, you guys probably would naturally be stronger due to the nature of
Yeah.
of competition. How have you combated this problem moving into internationals?
So basically, I try to be more realistic. Like for example, whenever I pick like weak lane champion, I try to tell the team this is not how it works. This is working because enemy team is bad,
Mm.
and I try to watch. Like for example, whenever you play the game, right? You try to give information to your team, like what's the lane prior, how should lane go. I watched a lot of other Legends game, and then I have a lot of experience. So I try to give a thing that more realistic um, information, and like for example, the origin, like basically this one's supposed to go this way, but because they're bad, I think we're gonna win.
Okay.
Something like that.
No,
So it's like tough.
it's the such a that's the scrim problem, right? It's like
Yeah.
people talk about fake scrim data and so forth, and usually it's like you don't get to go to It's like often scrims are not focused on the most important parts that win or lose games when it comes to, of course, stage matches. I want to ask, where do you think most improvement comes from when it comes to, for example, your current team? Where did you guys find the most amount of improvement? Do you think it was through solo queues, through scrims, or was it through watching VODs together? What do you think were the most essential parts in like basically development? Because scrims sometimes you are at the mercy, of course, of your opponent, but maybe you guys have methods of making scrims more useful to you.
We get most, we learn most during the stage game. Like we talk about the one stage game for like entire day sometimes. There's a thing, I wish we learn more from the scrims too. But the mostly learning from the stage game the most. And then solo queue for your champion mastery. I think solo queue is like a basic fundamental of like how you, like knowing how your champion function, like individual champion skills. And then team game, yeah. I think stage experience matter a lot.
Agreed. It's always the real scenarios play out on stage that turn out to be important. That's sometimes very difficult to see through scrim practice. Sometimes because the enemy makes it too easy, and sometimes your jungler is 10-0 on Lee Sin or something like this, and it
Yeah.
goes kind of crazy. I wanted to ask you had, of course, the super team. I would say that ended, of course, in like a failure, considering everyone just expected you guys to destroy North America, considering the roster. What was, of course, the off season like? I imagine that at this point you are a very integral part of Team Liquid. Like you have. I imagine that you have a say in how things are going to kind of work and how the off season went. You guys made the roster with, of course, Pioshik and Summit. Like how was everything built up? What was the intention? What was the plan? Give me your side of the story.
Where our academy team was very strong back then, and there was a really good rookies, Harry and Yan. The first thing I had after 2022 was that I wanted to play with more rookie around this roster, and Harry and Yan's was outstanding in the academy scene. So like building around those core, and I just wanted to play as a one team.
Do you think that?
And then
Forgive me. Continue, please.
So it sounds like most like logical when your two rookie players can also speak Korean. And then when I heard there will be the roster that everyone can speak Korean, I'm also excited so that I can play the game speaking Korean again.
Considering, of course, in my experience working in Sandbox, I felt like Korean culture is such an advantage in a team environment. Considering like in the team, like everyone, like the older players took care of the younger players. There's like the sense of brotherhood naturally, and in terms of how I feel like the group is seemingly always more important than the individual, which is sometimes, of course, the opposite. I feel like in Western teams where sometimes players they believe that they are the superhero in their own movie. Sometimes that it can be very very opposite direction. Considering if my understanding is correct, of course, Eon and Harry, did they grow up in a Korean culture, even though that they spoke Korean? Was there like differences in terms of how they work within the team, or was it something that wasn't noticed?
Um, I think Yeon was not. Harry was like more close to the Korean culture. He's more fluent in Korean.
Okay.
Yeon could speak Korean, but he didn't know how to write the Korean alphabet.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's not like and also more than Korean culture, like Korean professional, like HK teams cultures are also like very top line,
Yeah, yeah.
like schedule is top or something. Um, so it was like a little bit different.
Okay. This team, from watching you guys from outside, it seemed like this team, from understanding like what you wanted to achieve, in the end, from outside, it seemed like this was a team that kind of lived and died by like individual players' success in the game. I think that it was often it's like APA came in later and he had this unique picks, but I remember there was like games where like Summit either he like carried or Pioshi carried. I never got the kind of sense that there was a clear like identity outside of very very strong individual performances. Would you say how would you view it? Is what I'm saying crazy, or does it kind of make sense?
Um, yeah, I would say you're valid on your point. Um, there was like more individual plays. There are a lot of individual plays than the team plays, and then sometimes it works well, and sometimes it didn't work well. Depends on the how we do well on the individual plays, and I think we did well during the like summer playoffs. And then we found our identity of how we want to play the game. Like Nico and Diego, like everyone just fight. We don't just like APA speak English. The especially Pyoshi couldn't speak English well. So more than communication and then talking, like more coordinated play. Like we played more instinct way to play the game, and then it actually worked pretty well during the playoffs. I think we were very close to win the ACS last year too, and we collapsed really fast during the Worlds.
Okay, okay. No, the change to APA once again, like a product of the academy team, where Spawn seemed to have done like a lot of great work in preparation for, of course, this year. What were the biggest takeaways from, of course, the year before? What were the big lessons that you wanted to carry over, and what was the big intention behind, of course, the project that is this year?
Mm, if I summarize it, I think is like believing APA and Yon. I think I'm really glad that APA started performing really well, and then Yon performed like extremely well, especially during the MSI. And then they grew up very fast, and then they became a really strong carries. I would say this year is like trusting the APA and Yun's potential, and I think it's going well. And then I don't think it's done yet.
All right. I'm glad to hear that. No, I work with very limited information. So on your end, what can you like for me watching the team in the previous year? I didn't have too much of belief in Neon, and it's of course very hard to judge because from outside you only get to see a couple of stage games and
Yeah.
and that's it. And APA, I think a common criticism towards him was that he played a very specific set of champs. But on APA side, I had a lot of sympathy because he just jumped in the middle of a split and did well at the World Championship, saved the team practically, right, in terms of him
Yeah.
joining. And I had a lot more sympathy towards, of course, his career. What was it that what was it that you saw in of course Eon and APA that of course made you feel that this needs to be we need to believe in these guys, you know?
The biggest thing is that they grinded a lot. They grinded like the HK players. I don't think even every HK players are grinding that much sometimes, and they have anger to win really hard. Like they want to win. They have a really strong passion, and also even though it didn't show a lot in the stage game, Yun did really well during the scrims, and like it showed up a lot of potential, and then he's doing better. Even though he was not the best at the first, I can see he's growing. And APA, everybody just can tell, like sometimes when APA makes some play, like, oh, this guy is talented. He makes a lot of those moments. Yeah.
Okay. No, it has paid off big time. You're also of course reunited with Impact, and
Hmm.
you guys have a lot of similarities in terms of how, like, if there's one person that might have a similar career, it would be, of course, Impact. Um,
Yeah.
Team Liquid as a team this year, if I compare it to the previous year, I feel like this is a team that seems so well led. It's like you guys seem so cohesive in the way you play, and like you guys were it seems like you guys are always improving. I feel like the last game that you guys play always seems to be like the last games that I see from you guys is the best games that I've seen from you guys so far. And that seems to
Hmm.
me like the hallmark of a team that has like good leadership, is actively growing. How is it for you to be reunited with Impact, of course, and working together with Impact? How do you share your experiences and how do you lead the team together?
Um, I think our team is like very well balanced. Um, with Spawn, our head coach, or leading the team with a a lot of experience from Impact, me, even Umti, and and then it's like all the rookie players are willing to run.
Mm.
And then it's not only that just rookie listening to the play, like the veterans, and there are, I would say, like healthy conversations are going on. Even yeah, so usually every international stage, yeah, like you get like mental wound between the players or from coaching staff or something.
Mm.
I wouldn't say like we were like perfect everything, but I would say um this one was like one of the better one among my international stage.
Well,
And then the first thing I wanted to do this year was that every day I hope we get better, and I can see our team is getting better from the ACS. There are a lot of things we should learn from the ACS too. So we got better in the ACS, and we got better in the playoff. We got better during the MSI. So I'm happy with our progress.
no, I think that I think measuring like a team success, considering like everyone's expectations of you guys, and in terms of how you guys have actively improved, like even during playoffs, with what you mentioned that you guys grew the most from, of course, rewatching your own games, and then watching you guys, of course, at MSI. That there's different levels to, of course, measuring success than just winning the tournament. Like I believe that you guys had a very very strong tournament, and I think like on the Fnatic side, this is a team that has strong individual players, but their performance is just so up and down, and I think that's like the opposite of what you guys represent. That you guys are a
Mhm.
steady team that is actively growing, and you are peaking all the time, finding new peak, new peak, new peak. While Fnatic, it's very, very random, and they also have those characteristics that they mental boom, and there is just so much fluctuation in their performance that it's kind of hard to predict where they're going to be on a day. While I feel confident in saying Team Liquid, they're going to be better than they were the last time, the next time they play, and I think that's like the best thing that you can have
Yeah,
in a team. I think
yeah.
there's nothing else to ask for. In regards to the series against T1, I have to ask the question again. What was your feeling coming into that series? What were your thoughts? Where was your mind at? What was the overall mentality of the team?
Mm, we didn't have like insane amount of confidence going into the T1. Um, our scrim didn't go well. People playing the T1, but as soon as we start playing the game, and then um, we when we touched the T1, we realized we could win versus this team. I think if we played a little bit better individually and then a little bit more clutch it at the moment, uh, I I could even see we 3-0 them in a series. Because like that's what made me really sad, and that's what made me like wanted to do better.
Mm.
Because I can see we can touch the best team in the world, so that it motivated me a lot.
Okay, okay. I'm curious, considering of course, AP and Eon, they had the experience of the World Championship last year, but in terms of advice that you've shared from, of course, your wealth of experience, what are some advice that you've shared with your teammates coming into those, of course, tournaments, playing on the big stage, and harnessing the winner's DNA, so to speak? Is there some advice that you parted way with, to your teammates?
I don't remember many things, but I warned them there will be the mental boom moment going
Okay.
into um, the international stage. I think it happens every time when enemy teams are doing better than you're expected, and there is a more case laners are losing the lanes as well. The game is gonna be tough. We actually need more coordinated play to solve the problems. Yeah, and I think it was fine. It was fine word. Fine MSI.
This moment, I imagine this is what occurs in the first scrim block, and or was it after the first stage match? Just so I can compare to my own experience, because you always scrimming internationally is always kind of a shock. after screaming in Europe, and then I mentioned screaming IG or screaming Damwon. I was like, oh shit, either we sink or swim.
Where we didn't have like huge like mental boom moment. Like even though we lost the game, every game was like very winnable if we do better. So like there was always hope. So we could like keep playing with some positivity. Because like if we play a little bit better on those moments, we can beat those teams. We can like, but I guess like after TES series, it was a little bit tough since it's like very hopeless lose, and then it broke our confidence a lot. I guess after the first stage match, getting shot on by the TS was the big thing for us.
What were the key takeaways? Because I have this like memory that I always share with the people that watch this, where I say it's like my job after we lost against RNG back in 2018 was to convince my players that we could beat them. Because I think what you
Yeah.
mentioned, hope, is so important. I think if you walk into a game, you need to believe that it is in your power to actually win. Because if that's not in place, you're going to be destroyed. Like I mentioned, like we talked about G2 and 2019 G2. It felt like they decided if we win or lose, and it was very tough to catch up to them. In the top esports series, you guys went 0-3. You mentioned that in the reviews, you guys had the biggest takeaways. What were the big takeaways that made you guys bounce back against, of course, Fnatic in the next BO5?
Well, I think we were very depressed for the 1 or 2 days, and then we just realized we can, I guess we can still win. And we realized stage and scrims are very different. I guess after 2 days, like we come back with a strong mentor. We can still beat those guys, and I think having a Fnatic on the next match helped us a lot. Because I mean, if you played versus TS, got shit on by TS, and then if you play versus another like really good team, then like you're gonna be like very hopeless. But like I guess the best way to learn, way to improve is like you play versus a similar level of opponent, right? Even though we lost to the TES, everybody think we can still beat the Fnatic, so we got the hope back. And then after winning Fnatic with the momentum, that we get some confidence, we can probably beat T1 too.
Cool. Now, looking ahead, I guess now, of course, coming into LCS, everyone's going to look at you as I would say favorites, even though some teams, of course, C9, they have Thanatos coming in and Reaper is coming back. There's some teams with very strong rosters that will be good competition. But how are you guys treating your off time? Are you guys taking some weeks off, making sure you're rested? What's the intention for LCS? Will you guys start slow? What's the plan for the summer split?
Um, I think we are taking enough break, and then once we start preparing, we're gonna learn, and then we're gonna keep improving. It's gonna be the busy summer with the Saudi World Cup,
Mm-hmm.
Esports World Cup. So Yeah, I mean, still have the same mindset. I hope we get better than yesterday.
All right. I'm glad to hear that. I wanted to ask you more general questions in regards to I guess North America. I touched on it a little bit earlier, but like there's this conversation always about NA solo queue being bad, and then when champions queue is there, people weren't really using it, and I felt like you were always fighting for the improvement of the region. It's like I felt like always from outside saying that CoreJJ is doing his best to fight against all of these bullshit excuses all the other players are making. What do you think have been like the core things that have held North America's progression back? What are some of the thoughts that come to your mind surrounding that topic?
Well, basically, the number of people are playing the game are very crucial.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, whenever I come to the boot camp, whenever I come to Korea to boot camp, it's very easy to play the solo queue because you can just keep playing the game, and there's a shorter queue time, and then there's a more realistic matchup to practice. But sometimes in NA, like the queue time is long, and then the champion they're playing are more off meta, so that you get like less information, so that like when you play Korean solo queue, you can get like your champion mastery and the matchup information. Like when you play NA solo queue, you only get champion mastery.
Okay.
Sucks a little bit.
What do you think could be done? Do you think it's just a challenge that you need to overcome, or do you think that there is active steps? Maybe like let's say you had a magic wand and you could decide what all, let's say like all the, what is it, 40 pro players, like let's say you could control what everyone would do to make practice as good as possible. Was there anything that you would want to see change in terms of how the region is and how the region could be better?
Well, I don't think 40 players can change the solo queue thing or something. Unless you do a lot of in-house, which is good thing. I'll say the closest thing we can do, the easiest thing we can do is that make the scrim value higher. Everyone focuses really well during the scrim, so that we can get second best information from the scrim outside of the actual stage game. And for solo queue, whenever I think about those solution, is that I guess I just need to win worlds, so that more players are playing the League of Legends. More people are interested in ACS. Yeah, I think that would be the thing I can do.
All right. It's a very admirable aspiration. No, I think definitely. I think it's a challenging thing. Another topic that has come up often, and I often discuss this on stream, and I fight against it often. You know, especially with you, you are such an exemplary import, right? It's like I think that by every metric you've made the LCS stronger. You know, I think that you are like you are up there with one of the most successfully imported players of all time, I would say. There's always this discussion, you know. Most recently, SK Gaming, like they announced that they are importing a full Korean bot lane. and then the community reaction, without knowing the level of these players, was very negative, and people were saying, "Wow, ADC is turning into LCS 2.0," and for me that was very shocking. Like I think, for me the only metric that matters is how good a player is. It's like, are they going to be good? Are they going to be better than everybody else? Then it's a great signing, and I don't really care where a player is from or or whatever. It's like, sure, you might need different resources in terms of translation and so forth, and that's a cost that you have to accept. But on the topic of importing players, what are your thoughts? Of course, being an import yourself, of course, in North America.
So it comes to the almost same question, same like solution. The number of talented players who are good enough to play in the ACS to win the ACS are little.
Yes, yes.
Like for example, like if there is a lot of good players in the ERL, I'm also more to see those players are picked up by the team and then going up. Same for the NA. I think NA pool is more smaller than Europe right now. Like secondary league scene. I think even though we need to use the secondary league players, it doesn't mean everyone is ready to play, ready to compete right away. So like importing is kind of the easiest way if you actually don't like your current players, and then you have a hard time bringing the like best national talent, then importing usually helped a lot because they are usually good with a lot of like player pool. But still there's a communication issue. So it's not, they will not gonna be able to use up their full potential. So like, I guess depends on team. Like if they have enough understanding of how good the secondary leagues players are, and then comparing to the other like Korean players, I was um, I was always thinking that having a really strong academy teams are good. So it actually helped a lot in Team Liquid in the past. A lot of players are played in the ACS because they were ready to play. It's not like because they played in the academy they can play. They were actually good enough to play in ACS, and I think knowing those things is important.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I share your opinion. I think that any team, I think any GM should look at players from any pool of players that you possibly can, and then just assess it for what it is, right? It's like, do you have the resources to make a player work or not? Because I'm sure I've experienced players, and you've probably experienced players too. It's like, I've experienced players in Europe that also might not know how to communicate and not know how to work hard. And I've worked with imports that have put in so much effort in making sure that they can communicate with teammates, that they do so better than others. And I think the only important aspect is, it's like, is the willingness to become that? Is it there, and is there the capacity there, right?
Yeah, there's a player coming here to break, to play the easy games, and then there's a player who really willing to be in the team and get along well with the team, and then those players are usually more successful.
I wanted to ask, because you mentioned that this MSI was a very pleasant experience and was one of the better ones. That's what you said. What was some of the worst ones? We talked about some already, some tough experiences, but what is something that comes to mind? Because before in Team Liquid, some of those 3-3s in group stages are also rough, I could imagine. What comes to mind?
Well, in general, there are a lot of cases when you play versus better players, better teams, and then when your teammates having a hard time, and then people lose the trust, and losing the trust make the game harder to play, so that like we're doing worse and worse. So sometimes there is a bad chain going on during the international stage. It's like there are many teams that are doing way worse than what they showed in the HS, in the like not only Team Liquid, happening a lot. I don't know what happened in the Flycast, but they performed very like worse than what they could do in the NA. I thought they would play way better than that.
Like FlyQuest is a team. Like if someone would ask me, it's like would I describe like a team that is choking? I feel like their players showed like every version of it, where some players are doing way too little, they're playing scared, and some players are trying to do way too much, because as you mentioned, they are not really hopeful about their chances. So either they play with fear or they're trying to win the game in every situation that was remotely positive. Bwipo, for example, you worked with Bwipo, I worked with Bwipo. He seemed to, with every situation he was in, he was just trying to like win the whole game and ace the team whenever there was like a small win. And if you are hopeful and you're confident in the way you play, and those
Play
small
solo,
wins, those small wins are more meaningful for sure. So I'm with you there 100%. I wanted to ask, like you work with Ruler, you played against all of the best. You played against Deft, you played against Uzi. In your mind, who is the best AD carry to have ever played the game?
The GOAT ADC.
Mm-hmm.
There are many good ADCs players, so it's very hard to choose since when their prime is also like different.
Yeah. That's what makes it such a fun question.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of authority, so.
I will choose 5 the best ADC player ever.
Okay.
Depth, Ruler, Bang, Uzi, Yan.
Oh, okay. Well, Bang
He's
is
playing with me. He has to be the best.
I like it. I like it. Bang is an interesting one because I feel like this is a player that is underappreciated, especially like in the West. I think he never comes up in the conversation. What stood out to you about Bang? How would you how would, of course, in your mind, Bang compare to the rest of the names that you've mentioned? I'm sure, like for me, I'm very curious to hear, because the names for me that come to mind is like Uzi, Deft, Ruler are like the 3 names instantly, and then maybe I would sneak in like a Jackie Love and maybe a Gumayushi.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kumayoshi is also really great. And then check it out, like what you said. Um, Good, but a little bit of inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
But Bang, I think because it goes to the long time ago when I played the ADC. When he was in his prime, he was like a very clean, textbook level of the ADC.
Mm-hmm.
So that like for example in 2017, I think we did way better than Bang and Urb. But in 2016, it was like very hard to lane versus him. 2015, 16, it's not easy to hit him or doing well versus them. So, and then he has the most world championship trophy.
Mm.
And then I don't think like his I think there's a time he did bad. But I think when he did well, I think he was very, very clean.
Okay. The way you describe him makes it sound like he was how I would view maybe Viper nowadays. Is there an
Oh
AD?
yeah.
Is an AD you would compare him to?
Yeah, I guess like someone like Viper, like very clean in the mechanics. Let's say like Viper wins Worlds 2 times in a row.
Okay. All right, all right. And for me, naturally, the follow-up question is in terms of supports. Like for me, like it's kind of a tough question because the same way it's like it's a question of eras and a player that stands out always in my mind is Mako because of how busy he's been, and in your mind the support role. We can do the five thing once again, but if you want to narrow it down, you can do so too.
To support?
Yeah, you can say how many as you
I
want.
guess I can put 5
Okay.
without order. Ding, Mara,
Okay.
Mata, and Ming. Ming always come to my mind. And Mata, Ming, Keria, Beryl, Mako.
Mm.
I think the Mako one was I was like more fan of Ming than Mako for a long time, but I think like he's still playing, like elite level, which is like very good. And then I think he has like best longevity, like hacking stat, right? The most touches, the most like win or something, I guess.
How do you view yourself in this conversation?
I think if I can do a little bit better in the NA, then I can be somewhere around there. I just need to I think once I have any international trophy, I will be there.
I think if you manage to do that through North America, I think the the achievement itself might be greater than winning it through a different league. Even though other leagues are harder to win, of course, I would say LPL and SK is harder to win. But to do it through the conditions that we've talked about, I would say would be a really, really, it would be a crazy, crazy achievement.
Yeah, that's what I wanna do. That's my core.
I like that. Do you think that Do you think you made it harder for yourself by moving to North America, or easier for yourself for moving to North America if your intention was to be the greatest support to ever play the game?
Where at least I can say it's more fun doing this. And I don't think it's impossible to win any international stage in the NA. I think that's actually a possible thing, and people will like more if I win in NA. So I think I would say it's easier.
All right, all right. Another conversation that's always like a hot topic is as we begin to round off, because I've kept you already for 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The go to North America is always like a fun one to chat about. Always the two names that come up is Bjergsen and Doublelift, but I think that you and Impact also have very serious arguments for yourselves. How do you view the conversation of the greatest player to have played in North America in your mind?
I think it's Doublelift. From how long he played, and then what he did from the NA. I would say it's the Doublelift, and I guess it's the same for the everything. Like if we win more, if we win the HS, me and Impact, like for next 3 years or something, then something can be changed. But I would say right now it's Doublelift.
Okay, okay. I look forward to the moment when you win a couple more LCS championships, you win an international, and then hopefully we can chat again, and I can ask all the same questions, and you can tell me, Yamato, there's only one answer. I don't need five now. I,
Yeah,
I
if
hope
I win
so.
something.
Before MSI, I was talking with Mickey X, and something that you guys have in common, I think, circling back to the conversation of Winners DNA, is that listening to you speak and also listening to Mickey speak is that like I get genuinely like excited, like you're giving me hope in seeing your team and your region succeed the same way Mickey gave me hope, because the way Mickey was talking about the future and his intention was as if some people they tell me they want to win, I can see through the bullshit. But with
Yeah,
with with you and Mickey, you guys don't flinch. It's like you guys are working really, really with that intention. So for that, and I really, really thank you that you can instill that hope. It's really radiating through your words, and I think that's amazing and so inspirational, truly.
thank you, thank you. My next score is beating Mickey.
Fuck him up. I wanted to ask, is there anything that you would like to bring up? Is there something on your mind? Something that maybe we haven't covered?
um, well, during the talk, something that come to my mind is that recently Team Liquid made a documentary of me talking about this my past memories.
Hmm.
If there is anyone are more interested in the story behind me, um, there is an origin series in the Team Liquid channel
I will post a
of
link below.
CoreJJ.
I,
Okay, thank you.
I will make sure to post a link below, of course. I want to thank you truly for taking the time. I mentioned it before, like this was something that ever since you agreed to it before MSI, and you let me know that you can do it after MSI, I've been very, very excited for this. And thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know that you are one of the busiest people
Uh,
ever. So Thank you.
I'm having really fun today, so thanks for having me.
I'm happy to hear that. All right. I thank you very much, CoreJJ. I appreciate you for your time, and I wish you truly the best of luck. And Spawn is an old friend of mine, so I hope you can give him a hug
Oh, yeah.
from me when you see him.
Thank you.
All the best.